Okay, this is the pre-war turn 10. In terms of diplomacy, the Soviets played their invade intervention card, and the Americans played support the Kurdish rebels, or support an independent Kurdistan. So the Kurdish groups over here are on the Allied side. Well, I say Allied, we have to call them US side at the moment. And partisan activities in effect in that area. Well, basically it's in any of the Kurdish areas of Iraq and Iran. You see this little dotted grey line? That's the boundary of Kurdistan. It even goes into Turkey, but it doesn't affect. Actually, does it go into Turkey? Yes, it does go into Turkey. But that area, the Turkish and Russian side of it, of Kurdistan, aren't affected by this rule. As a result of the Russian intervention, you've got some district units have moved rapidly into northern Iran. They captured the city here. They're about to probably capture Tehran. I can't see anything about it. Now, the reason this is happening is because of the way this system works, that you've got in a single turn, which represents a week, you can have up to 3 movements depending on the type of unit and whether you're in zones of control at certain points of time. For example, the Soviets, they've got the first impulse, then they've got a second echelon breakthrough impulse for units not in zones of control. Then that consists of another movement and combat phase. Then again after this, you've got the pack second impulse, which is the same as the first one, except you don't get new units, and you also go for pact surrender. So you can see there, you can actually have a lot of movements. So in theory, you could actually move 4 times. Once in the first impulse, once in the sub first impulse, once in the second packed impulse, and once in the second packed sub impulse. I'll have to check that, because I'm sure it says in the manual you can only move 3 times. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'll check that later. So the Russian units have also crossed the border from this area, which is, what is it? Turkmenistan, and that should be marked over there as being controlled by the Soviet side. Because American and Russian units are in the area in Iran, you've got this what they call a US-Soviet conflict comes into force. Now, you don't actually have to fight each other, or you don't even have to lose any units. Just if Soviet forces and NATO forces are in the same country, that triggers that event, and that allows you to do a general mobilization, which will effectively lead to a Third World War. In terms of aircraft, both sides have put in air up. The Warsaw Pact got air superiority in the Western Asian theatre, whereas NATO had air superiority in the Persian Gulf. Another thing is, American units from the US force pool have arrived by naval transport in the first NATO impulse, and they've moved into position to help the attack in the south here. We're using their second NATO impulse. So all in all, this isn't looking good for world peace. Now the Russians are still working on the role-playing basis that neither side really wants a world war, but it's looking like they've got no choice now. They'll probably both try and cool things down in the next turns. They've got a couple of cards that don't really make things worse. If you play that mobilization card, that's it. The clock's ticking, and then you've got to decide whether to go for an all. Well, you've got to go for an all-out war. You've got no choice. So all in all, things are getting a lot more complicated. Oh yeah, I've not mentioned that another front has opened up on the Syrian, Jordanian, Iraqi border, and the Syrians are taking a bit of a beating. Still quite a few neutral nations on the board here, the Gulf states, but Saudi Arabia is actually on the US side, and it's not doing much apart from contributing a bit of air power. The other sort of nation on the board that's not been mentioned is the Turks, and they're obviously NATO members. They can't do anything until NATO goes to war with the Warsaw Pact.